the manufactured invention of the Beatles, Rolling Stones, Grateful Dead, and the birth of rock and roll by the Tavistock Institute. Yes, most of these groups that you see, they're manufactured groups. They're not organic. They're manufactured groups. NSYNC, Boys to Men, New Edition. These groups are manufactured groups. Most of these celebrities, they're farm raised, they're prepped and programmed to be delivered to the masses, to convey and influence the masses, to convey nonsense and bullshit to the masses, to lead them astray. That's what it's all about. That's what it's been about. That's why the aspect of mind control is so important to them, because it's an extension of control of the asset, control of the person that's meant to control the masses. So it's like they're used to control you, but they're being controlled because it's pretty much based in the power structures control in regards to what they want you to know, what they want you to be elucidated by, what they want you to be led astray by, what they want you to get consumed by. Just when it comes to the left hand understanding, it's all about proverbial Garden of Eden, Eve eating the fruit. That's pretty much the masses eating the fruit of this world, or drinking of the cup of this world. So when you look at an image like this, it just shows you the programming aspect, because most of these celebrities, they're programmed to throw up these hand signs. They're programmed to do these things. Like when you see an image like this, for the most part, it's not of their own volition when they throw up these hand signs, because they all do it. They're all programmed to throw up these hand signs and make these poses. Even in just a regular casual watch of a post-game press conference from a basketball coach, an NBA basketball coach, like Doc Rivers. I was looking at a post-game press conference for Doc Rivers, and out of nowhere, he just put his finger on his temple, and it wasn't like a casual thing. You how sometimes you put your hand on your head when you talking or something like that, and you lean over or something, like any sort of casual thing where you just want to rest your hand on your head or something like that. This man had his finger on his temple like it was a casual thing to do. This is how you know that these people, they're programmed to do that, because they signal to the people in the know what they're about. And I've seen this, it's like an influx of it in these times. This is how you know that we live in the last days, and the Most High is just showing you things. Because these people, they do it, and they do it in a way where you can tell that it's something that they have to do, and they try to act as if they're doing it in a casual way. When you see most of these celebrities do that, you could tell that it's a uniform thing that they have to do, because they all do it. You feel what I'm saying? It's almost like a requisite, But just reading on, the fact that the Beatles had their music and lyrics written for them by Theo Adorno was concealed from the public view. John Coleman, former MI6 agent. Yes, because they don't want people to understand the truth about these celebrities that they've been impressed upon by. It's like finding out Santa Claus, ain't really real. The same thing with these celebrities, because these celebrities are meant to be used as gods or influencers for the masses, because these people in this world, they so simple-minded that they gravitate towards anything that they see with some sort of powerful, element to them. And when it comes to the world, the hub of the world is the entertainment industry, the celebrity world. So that's why the masses, they look at that as something that's, that's aspirational, something that they want to, be influenced by, motivated by. So that's why they set up celebrities. The Rolling Stones logo representing rebellion. Sticking your tongue out against the establishment represents rebellion, anarchy. There's also a reason why it is black, white, and red. The Rolling Stones were mastered by an Order of Malta member by the name of Prince Rupert Lowenstein, who sponsored the Sympathy for the Devil track back in 1968. The Prince was also a member of the very powerful sacred military Constantinian Order of St. George, which is close in power to the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, both being higher than the Order of Malta. The Order of Malta, SMOM, is the military arm of the Vatican. It was called the British Invasion. The 60s began a time of question authority. Grow your hair long, hippies and flower power, and morphed morphed in with the anti-war gang of Hell No, We Won't Go. All by design, all by planning to mind control and manipulate what the baby boomer doomer generation thought, the language and slang used, and the behavior control of the masses. Yes, it is interesting to note that the Tavistock Institute of Human Relation, as well as its child organization, the Stanford Research Institute, developed the Grateful Dead, among other things. So the Grateful Dead also, they were held at the Tavistock Institute. You can see that Alan Trish, a social engineer for the Tavistock Institute, became the shadow manager of the Dead. His father, Eric Trish, was one of the principal founding members of Tavistock. It was part of the development of a dynamic psychological warfare model to be used on foreign and domestic populations, modeled ultimately on the Lord Gordon riots in London and the Jacobean terror of the French Revolution. The purpose was to mobilize mobs in ideological opposition to the state as a mass destabilization operation. Rebellion against society. Let your hair grow, turn on, tune out, as millions of tabs of LSD appear in the hippie scene from CIA laboratories and promotion provided by Harvard CIA asset Timothy Leary and distribution aided by the likes of the Grateful Dead. The men buried in the think tanks and research institutions whose names and faces are still not known to but a few people made sure that the press played its part. Conversely, the media's important role in not exposing the power behind the future cultural shocks made certain that the source of the crisis was never identified. Thus was our society driven mad through psychological shocks and stress. Driven Mad is taken from Tavistock's training manual. From its modest beginnings in 1921, Tavistock was ready in 1966 to launch a major irreversible cultural revolution in America, which has not yet ended. The Aquarian conspiracy is part of it. So you had its inception in 1921 and pretty much a reinvigoration of it in 1966. So just continuing on. The Beatles, Good Bad Boys, and the Stones' sympathy for the dead or the devil were two sides of the same coin that was minted by the Tavistock Institute to introduce a new generation to a new language and a new cultural upbringing around alleged freedoms to think for yourselves and liberties to take drugs and become counterculture. And it was all manufactured. The lyrics from the Beatles, the covers for the Rolling Stone albums, their managers or their handlers were all derived from the Tavistock Institute, as is their name is the control of human behavior. Now back to this read. About the same time, Nazi Germany was increasing its research into neuropsychology, parapsychology, and multi-generational occultism. Interestingly, a progressive exchange of scientific ideas was taking place between England and Germany, most notably in the field of eugenics, the movement devoted to improving the human species through the control of hereditary factors in mating. The nefariously enigmatic union between the two countries was bonded partly through the Order of the Golden Dawn. Very, very interesting, the Golden Dawn. A secret society which consisted of many high-ranking officials in the Nazi Party and British aristocracy. Top high-ranking officials in the Nazi Party and British aristocracy, I pretty much read that line over. Top SS Nazi officer Heinrich Himmler was in charge of a scientific project called Lebensborn, which included selective breeding and adoption of children, a peculiarly large number of twins among them. The purpose of the program was to create a super race, Aryans, who have total allegiance to the cause of the Third Reich or the Third Reich, the New Order. Much of the preliminary experimentation concerning genetic engineering and behavioral modification was conducted by Dr. Josef Mengele at Auschwitz, where he coldly analyzed the effects of trauma bonding, eye coloring, and twinning upon his victims. Genetic modification, twinning. I'm sure you guys hear certain terms like this. It's apropos. It's apropos. Reading on. Besides the insidious surgical experimentation performed at the concentration camp, Some of the children were subjected to massive amounts of electroshock. Sadly, many of them did not survive the brutality. Concurrently, brainwashing was carried out on inmates at the call, who were placed under hypnosis and given the hallucinogenic drug mescaline. During the war, parallel behavioral research was led by Dr. George Estabrooks of Colgate University. His involvement with the Army, CID, FBI, and other agencies remained shrouded in secrecy. However, Estabrooks would occasionally slip and discuss his work involving the creation of hypno-program carriers and hypnotically induced split personalities. And this is what you see with these celebrities. They're hypnotically induced. They have split personalities. They have alters. Believe it or not, but that's what they have. They have alters. They have split personalities. After World War II, the U.S. Department of Defense secretly imported many of the top German Nazi and Italian fascist scientists and spies into the United States via South America and the Vatican. The code name for this operation was Project Paperclip, and I'm sure many of you brothers and sisters done heard about Project Paperclip. One of the more prominent finds for the U.S. was German General Reinhard Gehlen, Hitler's chief of intelligence against Russia. Upon arriving in Washington, D.C. in 1945, Gehlen met extensively with President Truman. General William Wild Bill Donovan, director of the Office of Strategic Services, aka the OSS, and Allen Dulles. I read about Allen Dulles, one of the heads of the CIA, who would later become the stalwart head of the CIA. Exactly. The objective of their brainstorming session was to reorganize the nominal American intelligence operation, transforming it into a highly efficient, covert organization. The culmination of their efforts produced the Central Intelligence Group in 1946, renamed the Central Intelligence Agency in 1947. Now I want to read up a little bit because it's very important that we understand this. Very, very important. It says the objective of their brainstorming sessions was to reorganize the nominal American intelligence operation, transforming it into a highly efficient covert organization. That's why people, they have this stigma about the CIA. That's why there's this stigma about the CIA, because it's covert. When it comes to the actual intentions of the CIA and what they're really about, it's covert. That's why when people talk about the FBI and the CIA, most simple-minded people, they want to say, oh, you conspiracy theorists and all this stuff, just because of the stigma that's associated with the CIA. But it's it's a real establishment, man, and it's an establishment or a governmental operation that's meant for control. It's pretty much meant for control. That's really what it is. Reinhard Gehlen also had profound influence in helping to create the National Security Council, from which the National Security Act of 1947 was derived. The particular piece of legislation was implemented to protect the unconscionable, yeah, that's how you pronounce that, unconscionable number of illegal government activities, including clandestine mind control programs. So let's read on more in regards to the evolution of Project MK Ultra.